If you're having some doubts about your ability to help people, you're like, oh my God, my client didn't go into that scene in regression. My client didn't go deep enough. My client couldn't really, didn't know how to do this with their hands. If you are doubting yourself with regards to your ability to help people and deep down, this is what you truly want to do, let me tell you this. All of that hypnosis shit doesn't matter when it comes to helping people. And I know you're probably just like, oh my God, Fritz, but hypnosis is access to the unconscious mind. And you know what? I used to think that too. But truth of the matter is, there are so many other ways. That's just like a small fraction of how you can help a client access their unconscious mind. There are so many ways to help a client get to the unconscious root of the problem that doesn't need inductions, deepeners. It doesn't need the language patterns. It doesn't need the artificial confusion. It doesn't need them to like they don't need to close their eyes and imagine their hands going like this, right? None of that shit matters. And I'm going to prove this to you in a minute. Don't worry. Because we're taught, right? We are taught that the unconscious mind is 95% of who we are, right? It's that iceberg underneath the iceberg. So knowing that, why are we only taught relaxation if 95% of our being is unconscious? Like, why is it only relaxation? Why? That doesn't actually make any fucking sense. And so I'm going to prove this to you now. So I'm going to ask you questions. What is the color of your natural, what is your natural hair color? What is your mom's natural hair color? What was the name of your very, very first pet? So no, I'm not trying to get a password out of you. Yeah, that's not what I'm trying to do here. The point is that when I asked you those questions, what did you have to do? You had to find that answer somehow, right? And where did you go to find that answer? Your long-term memory bank, which is unconscious. So just by asking you those questions that took like 3 seconds, you were able to access unconscious territory. No matter how fast or how slow you were able to find that answer, you were still able to access unconscious territory because your conscious mind can only pay attention to a small bit of information, and you're not always thinking about your dog, you're not always thinking about your hair color or your mom's hair color, right? So just by that 3 second question, you were able to access unconscious territory. And this is exactly what we teach inside our hypnotic questioning process. Because hypnotic questioning, as you heard, is really all about asking our clients question to help them retrieve unconscious territory, which we know is where the real root of the problem lies, whether that be the root of their binge eating, whether that be the root of their fibromyalgia, whether that be the root of their autoimmune diseases. Whatever it is, we know that the question is unconscious. There's a very, very strategic way to do it. There's a very, very strategic way of noticing what information we need to focus on, which is taught inside the trainings. But if you're doubting your skills with regards to helping people, because you have learned the induction and deep down you're reading a visualization script and you're like, I really don't like doing this. This is not something I agree with. This is something that I really hate. I really do not like reading as if I am talking to a child. I don't like doing this. And so when you are experiencing that, that can cause some doubt within you, right? It definitely did with me. And looking back now, it definitely undermined my intelligence and the intelligence of my clients because we know the unconscious mind is highly intelligent. And if we just know how to ask the best questions, the right questions for the client, then it is going to be more transformational for them rather than the hypnosis, having them do this with their fingers, having them do this with their hands, having them imagine lemons and their mouth drooling. That shit is not necessary to help them determine the root cause. Like, that's ridiculous. How does lemons, how does a magnet in between the hands help them to get to the root of the problem? It doesn't. So when you're doubting yourself because you've been doing that, good news. You don't need to do that. And doubting yourself because of that is really not your fault as well, because you were trained not the right way by these training schools. And so also, because although it's not your fault, it is also your responsibility to be better, right? To improve your skill. And so if I would recommend anything to anyone, it would be having the skill set of really investigating a client's problem through questioning and knowing what information is conscious versus unconscious, and how to make sure that your results are actually going to stand the test of time. That is the skill that is the skill that will help you stand out, and that is the skill that is going to help you feel like a badass instead of doubting yourself, because when you can master those things, you will be on top of the world, and you will have a skill set that only a fraction of hypnotherapists have. Therefore, you become the expert and you will stand out.